And we're back.
All right.
Hello. Yes. Thank you all for joining us. And so we just saw an incredible clip with a star that I'm looking at right now. And, you know, I love so much about that. But I also just want to give a shout out to the lady in the blue dress sitting down. That is Marcia Tillman, George Tillman's wife. And it's her birthday today, too. So we got a little happy birthday going on. Wanted to give her a shout out. And so, yes, there is Marcia Tillman. We're giving you a birthday shout out. God, thank you for all that you do, Marcia, and all that you are. So, yeah, we were just talking about that clip of you just walking into the church and how that is just so many ranges and so many points that we can pull out. You know, also, there's a name that was dropped. And like I said, before we got cut off, I did not plan this to be the clip. So, yeah, I just want us to, as a family, just talk through this scene. What's coming up for us? Let's start with you, Karan, since you picked it.
I love when I read the script, I was like, who is Shamell Bell? So that was dope. When I found out, I was like, yes, talk about family. Like, yes, family. Yes, come on in here. So I thought that was really, really cool. And of course, a wonderful quote. I think that I love, it's kind of like love, and also it's heartbreaking to see how there's never a moment where we can just be, right? We have to grieve and comfort, but then we also have to be social activists in the midst of grief. And we have to take on a level of responsibility that moves us forward in the midst of social. So it's just so much going on. And I think it points to how, you know, so often people feel like, oh, they're overreacting, or, oh, but it's like when you think about all the things coming at you, how can you not respond in a way? How can you not feel those things? How can you not be outraged or incredibly crushed and just trying to be? Because you're not ever really afforded that opportunity. And then with Aisha, you know, when I first read it, I was like, she really about to turn out a funeral. Is that what's happening? Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper and see what's really going on. And what I found is this is a woman who's hurt. When else can she see and connect with her son? That's what she really wants. She wants to hold him and embrace him. And even in this moment, she cannot. And it points to, you know, what hurt looks like. Sometimes when we see hurt show up in a Black woman, we dismiss it or discount it, or because we just don't understand it. But sometimes hurt is screaming loud enough to at least be heard by someone, even if you're not understood. And I think that's what's happening in this moment with Aisha. So I appreciate that we don't just dismiss her, right? We don't just discount her. In the hands of Angie and George, she's a whole woman. And in this moment, she's a whole woman who is hurting. And we're allowed to witness what that hurt looks like and how it plays out.
That's so good. And it just like sent chills down my whole entire body, because it speaks to intergenerational trauma. It speaks to the fact that we should not be respectable at some points. We should actually really look into where that hurt might be coming from. And so that was powerful that you said that. I'm going to go to Angie.
Whew, yeah. Aisha is one of my favorites. And again, I feel like I'm plugging the new book, but I really get to explore her in Concrete Rose. Like,
plug your George new book, girl. Plug it in my classroom.
Yeah, George has read it. Yeah, and like,
I need to read it.
Okay, I will hook you up. I will hook y'all all up.
Thank you.
Yes, I got you. But family gets it. I will send it to y'all. But I get to explore her more in Concrete Rose, and we get to understand her a little more, because she's the character. I think the two characters I was asked about the most by my readers were Maverick and then Aisha, followed by Carlos. And the thing about Aisha is I know so many Aishas, and the first thing people would like to say about them is, "Oh, they ghetto." No. First of all, just because she walks in the room and command that her presence be noticed does not mean she's ghetto. That means she's got some confidence. Can we say that? Can we start saying that? Like,
speak on it.
I am definitely not confident enough to walk into a funeral and holler out. You got to have some confidence to do that. But also, yes, she is hurt. She has some pain. And I got to ask George to hook me up with these deleted scenes, because one of my favorites was the extended version of that scene. I saw it like when y'all were filming. And like the whole thing didn't make it into like with Seven and Aisha in that moment. And then another of my favorite scenes, and I think it's on the deleted scenes when you get the DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, is Aisha at Seven's graduation. Like it gives us so much more into that character, and I absolutely love those scenes. Those are some of my favorites. But at that moment right there, it revealed a lot about that relationship between mother and son, but also it reveals something about Lisa too, and who she is and how she accepts this situation, and the woman she is in this situation. So one of my favorite parts of the story as in general is the complex family, because in Black families there is that complexity. It's like, is that your full sister, half sister, step, whatever, blah blah blah. It's like my mom's granddad used to say, there's no such thing as step. He said he was her step granddaddy. He was like, but I don't bring steps everywhere I go, so I'm just your granddaddy. So we have these complicated at times family dynamics, and I think that scene shows it in a powerful but also in a way that will hopefully resonate with the viewer and make you feel something for Aisha in that moment.
That's beautiful. And take us a little bit, George.
No, that scene was is one of the most difficult scenes to shoot, because what made it easier, with actresses like Miss Kendrick here, she's amazing, just working with her, and always ready. What made it difficult was, it was Angie. I think Angie was one of your first days on the set, and it was like everybody was in one scene. It was like two families, the introduction of Issa Rae. You got King still threatening Starr. You have the minister, and you have the protests inside the church. It was just a lot of things going on, and we didn't have a lot of time to do it. But since everybody was so talented and so prepared, it just moved, and it made it easier, and it made it very, it felt very, in a sense, easy. It just felt like you really was in a place where it was really real. And I just think there's a lot to be done. It's the one scene that had everybody in it, really, in one scene, and you establish both families, but the center of it is, will Starr speak? And we never lost that with all those other relationships, things going on. In this, it's very important because it's a setup of Aisha, almost, where we identify that relationship just with looks that we'll see later on when Aisha makes the big choice at the end of the film. So it was a very tough scene to do because everybody was there, but we're a family and we got through it. And your contribution to that was really huge, Shamell, because our relationship go back for many, many, many years. So when this book came to me, you were the first person that I talked to after me and Angie had that conversation about, like, hey, I just felt like this was a movie that we haven't seen out in Hollywood. I just finished a movie previous to that. I say it was one for them. And I know you always do one for them, one for yourself. So I knew I had my relationship at Fox been there for since Soul Food, since 97. So it was like, now's the time to make the film that I wanted to make. And I wanted to have somebody who can inform and be there. So it was very important to have your name in that scene.
Yeah, no, that was crazy. I didn't even know that my name was going to be in the scene. Can we talk about how I was consulting and I had chills because it was credited to someone else? Because people started saying, after I said it at in an interview in Al Jazeera, actually white supremacists picked it up and they had websites and all types of things, like crazy things. And so it was trauma for me. So when I was reading it, we had to sit in the room and I couldn't leave it. And I was like, oh. And your assistant saw me and was like, what's wrong? And I was like, oh, no, I said that. And she Googled it. And then it wasn't until the editors started saying, we're going to have a shirt. Shamell Bell said it best. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They kept walking around. When they met me, they were like, Shamell Bell said it best. And I was like, what are you talking about? So it's crazy that, our relationship, you're like family. You are, I don't know, brother, dad, whatever. But since I was 13, you and Marcia has been everything to me. And I don't want to tell y'all how old I am today. I'm
19.
double that. You know what I'm saying? So I just thank you for even thinking to include me, you all, and to be here on my birthday, on Marcia's birthday. Y'all see this love? Who takes their wife's birthday? What wife says take the birthday and come to your sister's class? Look at that one right there. So, you know, people think that I just wrote that in there, and I just really did it. So yeah, I just want to thank you all, but I want to bring the students in to ask some questions because we had a little break in time. So I want to just call in a student to ask some questions.
Hi, my name is Chara Lyons, and the one question I have is if the Black and Brown youth audiences take away any messages from the book and film, what would you like them to take away?
What about you, Angie?
That feels like that's my lane. Like I feel like for the past couple of years, that's what I've been trying to do. It always irks me when people are like, Angie, you're the voice for young people. I'm like, no, they have their own voices. All I want to be is a microphone to amplify them, you know, make them even louder. And that's what I hope they take away from this book, from this film, their power, that they have voices. If you're not old enough to vote, you still have power. You know, if you're a young person, if you're a Gen Z, you're some of the most powerful people in the world. Like, do you guys realize how much you affect trends with the, you know, slang you create, with the way you wear your clothes, with the TikTok dances, all these different things? You have so much power, even beyond that, on social justice levels. You have so much power. Every single civil rights movement we've had in this country has been led by young people. Yeah. You know, when we talk about Dr. King a lot, you know, we think of him as an old man. Dr. King wasn't even 40 when he was killed, you know, like he was young when he started the work. All these movements were started by students and young people. And so the same power that they had resides in you. And I hope that with this election coming up, I hope young people are voting, because if nothing else, keep in mind that if you're not voting, you're giving more power to people who won't be in this world 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now than you're giving to yourself. So the stuff that they're setting up for now is stuff you'll have to deal with, and they'll be long gone. So who do you want to make the decisions regarding that?
But Angie be dropping all the historical facts. You want to teach actually, I'm going to have you come in and teach a guest lecture in my class, because you have all the history. And I know that we have some other students that want to come in. Thank you so much for that, Chara. Hello. Whoa.
What's up, y'all?
Hey.
Oh, okay, I'm going up. All right, so we have a question from the audience. Let's see. Yes, so Carl Young asks, okay. So what would be the differences between the endings of the book versus the endings of the film adaptation?
Ooh, that can be George.
No, I'll let Angie take that one.
Angie?
Okay, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, the big ending, I think, is the big difference is the ending with, well, the end where we see the scene with Sakani. That's not in the book, and it's one of those scenes that I wish I did in the book because of the power in it. It's the scene that every time we did a screening or I went to the movies to watch the film with just everybody else, with the public, it was the scene that got the biggest and loudest reaction out of the audience.
I cry every time. Still today.
It is the one. That scene is definitely, it's not in the book. And again, I wish I would have put it in the book. I remember emailing my editor after I read the script, and I was like, I know the book is out now, but can we? She's like, no, you know. But then also the ending, the decision with the family deciding at the end of the film to stay in Garden Heights versus the book where they moved. You know, when they did early screenings of the film with test audiences, people were like, why are they leaving? I feel like they should stay. It doesn't feel right that they leave, you know? And so there was a decision made to let them stay. And honestly, when people ask me about it, I feel it could have gone either way. I think it's realistic for them to stay. I think it's realistic for them to leave. So those are the two big differences from the book and the movie.
Yeah. Something that often I came up with, or people came to me with, is, you know, oh, ending is not realistic. They're like happy that he's going to jail and all of these critiques. But, you know, I want people to understand that there are different levels of understanding. There are people who have cops in their family. There are people who, you know, may not know about defunding the police or all of these things that people are on the ground are talking about. So we need to, in a movie, speak to everyone's level of understanding so we can bring them into the story. But what is really great is the fact that we can imagine what would our ending be. So the book was different. The movie was different. Now, what would our movement be? What would the end of our movie be at this moment? So yeah, we're gonna take another question, but I've been wanting to say that so much. I use it as a teaching tool. Like, ask every time. So we did some sit-ins, not sit-ins, we call them read-ins, and we had the book. And Angie, thank you for donating books to students in South Central. LA Students Deserve activists got books from you, and they sat there and actually read and had a discussion and community organized, and then they got a chance to see the film. And they always talked about the different alternative endings in their freedom dreams of their ending. So thank you, it's a powerful moment. Michaela.
Hi. While we wait for some more questions from the audience, I do have a question of my own that I would like to ask. Starr lives with her parents and with her two brothers, but it seems as if her notion of family seems to extend to her neighbors and even people outside of her bloodline. How does this concept of family amplify the importance of community in the movie? And how does that notion impact the course of action that they take as a community after Khalil's death?
That's a good one.
Go ahead, George.
They're gonna say, Angie, Karan, you got something for it? Because y'all can't keep cutting it to Angie.
No, well, you know, that was always set up in the book. I always love that because we always meet Mr. Rubin. We meet the guys in the neighborhood. We meet, you know, it's so many different characters there. And it kind of reminds me of any community that you're born in. You always, there's the church, there's the barbershop, there's the liquor store, you know, all these different people and all the neighbors all next door. And it's a sense of family, it's a sense of belonging. And that is what the dilemma, which I love. People always say the movie always starts when Khalil gets shot. That is not true. Like, for me, the movie starts when Starr is in school and this white kid jumps in front of her and skips her in the lunch room, and she doesn't say anything. That's a character who's not using her voice, who's really changing who she really is. That is the dilemma, the central dilemma of the character. And being who you are is in your community, in your neighborhood. She was a different person at school, and she was a different person in her community. And she was able to find her voice, and community is part of that. I remember a conversation early on I had with Angie. I said, you know, Angie, she has a white boyfriend, and then at the end of the movie, she speaks up, she has her voice. Which one, you know, and Angie says she can be both. And I was like, long as she's real inside. And I think that's really where it comes down to, is the community is owning where you are and owning the people around you, but be who you really are. And that's the story that I wanted to tell. And that was something that was always built inside the book.
Authenticity. So I want y'all to know that George is obsessed with authenticity. I don't know if you know this, but that's what you always send me a text message or you call me. I just want to know if this is real. Since I was a kid, it's like, is this what the young people say, Shamell? And so that authenticity is like actually my favorite part about you as a director and a writer and all of the things, producer. You always look for, is this what is real? Would you really say that? And you always keep it real. So I appreciate that.
Well, it always starts where I think one of the biggest things early on was the protests, you know, in the movie. And as a director, I have seen protests in films before, and I just felt like it felt fake. It just didn't feel real. It didn't feel like the community that I was seeing in Baltimore or in Charlotte. How these things started, who's actually there, where are they coming from, why are they in the bikes, who's got the signs, why are there certain white ladies there, why all of these individuals. And I think the really superheroes that are in this movie are all those people in Atlanta that came out for like 5-6 nights And, and they were not background, they were actors, and we gave them backstories and why they were there. And they came ready and really being specific. And you were very helpful in that, Shamell, in breaking that down. That's being authentic and being real. And we shot so much material and I couldn't put it all in, but on the Blu-ray, you'll see like a 30-minute version of that because everybody was so there and so committed. And I just feel like it's the only way you can really make a movie like this is being authentic. So
the crazy thing, I'm going to jump to Awo, but do you remember that I happened to be going to a funeral the same weekend as you were shooting the protest scene? Angie, I was not supposed to be there. So say Johnny, I don't know if y'all saw the little kid, is George's godson, bouncing in the protest because he's been in the protests from BLM from the very beginning. He was at the first one in the stroller. So the fact that it just all seems so divine that I happened to be in Atlanta for you shooting the protest scene. And I was not trying to get in there, but say Johnny just wanted to be, he said, I want to be famous. And so you put him in the scene, put him on a little shirt, and then you're like, you got to get in there with him. So it's just all of this authenticity was just bred into it. And so that's what I want others to kind of know and know about you as a director. But Awo, can you please jump into the next question from the audience?
For sure. So the next question we have is, would the film be any different today in light of the protests over George Floyd?
Okay.
Go ahead. No, yeah, you go.
I think it's Karen's time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great question. I think that what's heartbreaking is that it probably wouldn't be a lot that was different because we're still dealing with the same issues, I think, that were put forth. I remember when the film came out, the response was so interesting to me because it's a film that I am incredibly proud to be a part of. And I think that it is so authentic. It's so powerful. I don't think people were really ready for what they were going to experience and how they were going to feel. It speaks to the heart of who you are. Like you can't, when I went, outside of like industry stuff, I took my mom and dad, my nieces and nephews, my sisters, even my baby niece, right? And everybody was able to enter into this space and connect with what was going on. And so it's beautiful in that way, but it's also heartbreaking because what does that say about who and where we are? And if something this powerful doesn't change what's happening in our hearts and in our world, what does it take? So yeah, I think that this was part prophecy, part revelation. If you were unaware, it was part catharsis for us to actually be in a space to see and experience and receive and hear our truth done so beautifully, but also like maybe part warning because you reap what you sow, more than you sow, later than you sow. So yeah, I got to sit with that question, but I don't know what would be different, honestly. I don't know.
Go ahead, Michaela.
Okay, we have another question from the audience from Talik. It says, with growing awareness to colorism within the media, I was wondering what y'all's thoughts and or opinions are on the decision to cast Starr, one of the most visible characters, as a light-skinned actress. And then if you could as well, generally give us some more insight into your choices for casting, that would be great.
Angie, you have a good story about, you always thought of Starr. I mean, I know the backstory because I know it from when it was a book before it was even a film. But go ahead, Angie and Joyce have something to say about this. I know for sure.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people don't know that Amandla was cast for Starr before the book was ever out, before there was ever a cover.
Exactly.
Amandla was Starr. Like Amandla was given the book with my permission. And I think it was it like 2000, late 2015, early 16, George?
Early 16.
Yeah. And so like
January 16th.
Yeah, I'd been asked about young actors and actresses who, inspired the character. And Amandla was one of them by far. Amandla has always used their platform to speak up, speak out, make some noise, be heard. I remember the whole don't cash crop my cornrows. that blew me away. And as I was writing that character, I thought of Amandla a lot. So when the time came up, the whole process with The Hate U Give being made into a book and then a film was like the most wild time of my life. You know, it happened so fast, but it was like early 2016, I'd say like January 2016. I just maybe signed a book deal in December 2015. And like a month later, here we are talking about possibly a film in the future. And they were like, well, would you love for Amandla to read it? I'm like, heck yeah, I would. You know, and again, this was before the cover was ever made, before there were anything done about a cover. So I will say this, though. Of course, colorism is absolutely a problem in Hollywood. We are not going to sit here and say it's not. It is absolutely a problem in Hollywood. But I can say that from my perspective, and George, you can speak on this more, with Amandla, it was about this young person has lived this life in a lot of ways, because a lot of Amandla's life is reflective in Starr's life. It's not my place to tell that, just from conversations we had. And so it was a lot of factors that went into Amandla being cast as Starr from the very beginning of the process.
Yeah, I mean, she was attached very early on. As soon as I read the book and I met Angie and we sold it to Fox, it hit me right there at that point. It was like, hey, there, there's an actress attached. And I was like, really? I didn't know that. And I was like, oh, what's her name? Oh, Amandla. Okay, cool. And I met her and I was totally blown away that she was at that young already was like finding projects, already, having conversations, with her agency about being involved with the movie. And once we started doing our tests, for the film, like we just doing some audition tests and screen tests for the studio, she was amazing. And from the beginning, I just felt like from listening to her, that story of a person going to a private school, living in Inglewood, going to a white private school, living two different lives, it was the character. I mean, that's who she was. And she brought a lot of details to that role. And it wasn't an easy role to have, you know what I mean, in terms of that, in terms of the rehearsal time that we have, the preparation, the body behavior, and also the rehearsals and all the, with Regina Hall and with Russell and the family. She was 100% committed. But from the beginning, she went after the book at the same time I was going after it. You know what I mean? And that's really what you want from an artist,
Okay, so I want to wrap it up. And how I usually wrap up in my class is going back to breath, right? And so the root of the word conspire means to breathe together. So I want us to actually close our eyes, and I'm going to ask a final question to the entire audience. And that is, when we're thinking about The Hate U Give in this revolutionary moment that we are right now with this election coming up, I want us to think about love. I know Karen's talked about it so perfectly about our humanity and our love. Now I want us to embody that love. And what's next? I want us to think about how we can create change and how we could use our voice. So let's take a deep breath and breathe that feeling of that freedom that is right on the other side. And let's breathe that in. So let's breathe it in. Hold it. Let's breathe it out. And you can open up your eyes. And that is the end of our family reunion, y'all. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm just honored to be here in community and family with you all and love. And just thank you, Angie, for this incredible piece of history. And it's like the past, the present, and future all occurring right now. Thank you, George, for how you brought it to the screen and how, youth have been able to see the Black Panther 10-point program, how they'll be able to see themselves in the power of their name, say Johnny's name, the fact that we're not respectable. There's so many things that we talked about in this amazing conversation that we've had today. And I just want to thank Michaela and Awo for being here, all of our other students and everyone at home. And I want us to just say, Michaela and Awo, can you do me a favor? And what we do is we unmute our mics and we're going to do a thank you bomb to the amazing cast and director. All right, and author. So 5, 6, 7, 8, unmute.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much for joining us
I want
today
to tell
and
you how
sharing
much
all
we
of your
love you
knowledge
and we
wisdom with us.
appreciate
really
you.
Appreciate you
You
so
are
much. Have a
incredible.
wonderful
We had
night.
such an
Insights,
amazing time
and
today, and we just want to
shoot,
thank you.
I cannot wait to see your book be released in January.
Mhm.
So,
We want to get hooked up too. I want to get hooked up too.
That'd be
I
nice.
want
So we
that
can give
book.
you our emails or something.
Just drop me a
that's kind
DM.
of
I'll
embarrassing,
take
right?
it.
To have people thanking you in a bomb. We do that to all our guests in our classroom, by the way. And it's usually like 30 or more students, and they just hear like, thank you, the guests. So
Great.
we appreciate you. All right, let's go, y'all. See you
Thanks.
later.
See you later.
Happy
Bye.
birthday, Marcia in the back.